Hello, my friends, and welcome back. Thank you very much for being with me again today. I have to confess that for me, President of France, Emmanuel Macron, was the most, balanced and the keenest of them all, or at least logical of all these guys who supposedly are in charge of the Western world. From Germany to Great Britain to United States of America. But it seems like he's not who they want us to think he is, the proud president of France, because I think he's just joining the frenzy and the hysteria, and he's not. I don't think he's capable of having a different take on the war in Ukraine. I would say that the war in Ukraine is not something that necessarily hurt France, because in the long run, if Russia is defeated, France has only advantages, has no disadvantages. So from France's point of view, as Germany's point of view, I defeated Russia and kneeled, and therefore plundering of Russia of its resources and making sure that militarily there's no threat to the United States of America. Then they have only to win. But I thought that he is a little bit more logical and more sophisticated than he is expressing himself lately being about 3-4 months or so. So let's see, I have this little article here where Macron claims that no peace in Ukraine until Russia is defeated. This comes from the New Voice of Ukraine from February 17th, 2023. Well, I hope that President Macron also gives us a view or a picture on what Russia defeated looks like. But I don't know. I don't bet my money on that. And let's quote Mr. Macron. The hour of dialogue hasn't come yet because Russia choose war. Russia choose to target civilian infrastructure and commit war crimes. End quote, said Macron. Russia's attack must fail. End quote. The French president believes it is important to give Ukraine the means to return to the negotiating table in an acceptable way and work towards a long-term peace on Ukrainian terms. Macron said Russia is doomed to, and I'm quoting, a defeat in the future, end quote, as Russian aggression has already strengthened Ukraine's statehood as a country, prompted Finland and Sweden to apply to join NATO, and forced European countries to think more about self-defense. This paragraph right here, this is such a weasel paragraph. But hey, what do you want? It's written by Ukrainska Pravda. He added that during his conversation with Putin a year ago, he, and I'm quoting, almost believed him, and unquote, that Putin had nothing to do with Wagner PMC. However, it is now clear from what is happening in Ukraine that the Wagner group is a tool of the, and I'm quoting, mafia to commit crimes. Now, again, this is written for children right here. All this. I'm telling you why. He almost believed him that what? Putin has nothing to do with Wagner PMC. Okay, what does Putin have to do with Wagner PMC? I would like to know what he has to do with a private military company. However, it is now clear. Okay, it's not clear for me. Can you make it clear? And tell me, what is it? That Wagner Group is a tool of the mafia. What is the mafia? The guys in charge of Russia? They were democratically elected as the other guys. What are these guys talking about? And remember, this is not what Macron said it was not in quotation marks. This is the interpretation of Ukrainska Pravda based on 3 sentences, 3 statements coming from Macron. I haven't seen any quotation marks on the last paragraph. And let's look at it. Again, it's just... all right, let's see. The last paragraph. He almost believed him. And then everything here, I don't know if they were talking about the PMC, Wagner PMC. He almost believed him, then what? If the quotation would be, I almost believed him that he has nothing to do with Wagner PMC, he said during a conversation, blah, blah, blah. Yeah? And even if that's so, I haven't found anything that's clear. Is Putin's name? Is he the owner of PMC? PMC is a private military company accused, which is not convicted, of crimes, like other PMCs, like the, how do you call that, the Blackwater. A lot of accusations were made about these guys, and was evidence brought forth. And Macron said is doomed to a defeat in the future. And how do you see that defeat? And instead, how is that defeat going to be? How do you foresee Russia being defeated? And he says the dialogue hasn't come yet because Russia chose war. Okay, well, if you rape my wife, I think I will choose war as well. So you got to be more concrete about this. Russia chose to target civilian infrastructure. Is Kerch Bridge a civilian infrastructure? Is it? Is it a bridge, a civilian infrastructure? Yes, it is. Is the thermal plant that was targeted today in Sevastopol a civilian infrastructure? Is it? It's a thermal power plant was targeted by a drone, hit supposedly by the Russians today. Is that infrastructure? I mean, if you, my dear friend here, if you think that, for instance, the other side did not hit any civilian infrastructure in 1 year, then I don't know what to tell you. Give me $30,000 today, I will give it to you tomorrow with 3,000% interest, and we will meet tomorrow. I bet you will not give me that. You know what I mean? Because, not only that. Remember that video that showed the Ukrainians shooting those 12 Russians who came and, they laid on their faces, and then a guy came shooting. They killed the guy and they killed everybody else. Do you remember that video? It was in the United Nations now. They tried to investigate and see, is there a war crime? They were prisoners of war. Remember those prisoners of war that were shot in the kneecap by the Ukrainians? Remember that one? Things are not as clear as they say. Remember, what I'm doing right now is not to defend the Russians, but I can't stand looking at such a gross misinterpretation of reality. And if it's not the Russians, could be someone else. And I don't care if it's Ukrainians, the Russians, the Romanians, the whomever. I care with all these articles that come and they say, well, it's clear. It's nothing clear. What is clear? What is clear? When I say, well, Putin is a war criminal. According to what? To your opinion? To your accusation? To your statement? That means nothing. Anyone can do that. Anyone can accuse. I mean, these guys are still struggling after 6 months almost, right? 5 months to find out, they already know, that's my assessment, about the Nord Stream 1, Nord Stream 2 pipelines. That's a terrorist act. Who did it? Is that country at war with Russia and Germany? Because it was not Russia or Germany, it seems like. According to the Germans, according to the Russians, according to the... No, most likely it's not those countries. So who could that be? Now, if we find a perpetrator, what should happen with that terrorist country or entity? I don't think those investigations in Denmark and Sweden will ever let us know who that was. You know why? Because You can't really do that. So again, no tears from me when I read these articles with Macron saying that yes, we got defeat because they're the good, we're the good guys, they're the bad guys. You're not the good guys. What are you talking about, good guys? France participated, didn't it, in bombardment of Yugoslavia? Did it? And all like that. What about Libya? Part of NATO? I mean, really? I mean, if you want to go look back, why do we start a history only now, a year ago? Let's start it 50 years ago. Let's start it Algeria. Talk about Algeria? You don't like to talk about Algeria? and other. There are many situations, you know. I mean, I'm not going to go now to the, 1800s and talk about the scramble for Africa and all that. But if you talk about a country being an imperialistic country, really, who's talking about imperialism here? France? Or Germany? Or Great Britain? Or Spain? Or Portugal? Or United States of America? I mean, how do you consider the Monroe Doctrine? A friendly neighborhood where I'm the boss and shoot anybody who comes here and take care of my neighborhood? Really, it's just this is why I do all these things, because I dislike injustice. I don't like lying. I don't like weasels. And I think this article with Macron showed me how strong he is. When was it, in August or July? I think it was June, July. He was talking to Putin almost every day. And one day, I think it was Zelensky or one of the weasels that are in charge of the Ukrainian nation. I pick my words very carefully. And one of these guys said, I can't remember who it was, Yermak, Zelensky, one of these guys, called out Macron, and he said, why is Macron speaking every day with Putin? What do they have to talk about? You know what Macron did? That was enough. That was enough. And Macron did not talk to Putin for about a month and a half, almost a month. When he spoke again with Putin, with Scholz together, or in the same day. So he didn't dare to talk to Putin because a sleazeball from Ukraine called him out. Ukraine, that Macron before all this did not even know where Ukraine was on the map, and who's Zelensky or something like this. Can you imagine? The mighty France. It's not Zelensky or these guys, because Macron doesn't give up about those guys. But you see, looking at those, you look like in the mirror like that, and you see who's over there. And it seems like who's over there is so powerful that Macron stopped talking to Putin. Not that he should talk, but he was so awkward. That showed that he's a weasel. And now he comes and how serious should I take this guy again? I can't. Not that I really like the guy. I thought he was smart. Never thought he was courageous, but he was the most diplomatic and had nuances versus the other ones. I mean, he's like a beauty queen compared with, Liz Truss, or what's his name, Maharishi Sunak, or Boris Becker Johnson, or Olaf Scholz, or Biden, or yeah, he's a superstar. Intellectually and as a politician, I gave him a 10 if I have to compare him with those guys. But anyway, this is it. He didn't explain how Russia will be going to be losing or something. Probably you guys, France and whomever, going to continue doing what they do best, pump money, military, on Ukraine territory, so those guys fight, as Lavrov said. Well, unfortunately, they're going to fight the last Ukrainian, and then who's going to fight for you? And I know who. It's going to be the volunteers that are already coming over there. Volunteers with ranks. Thank you very much for being with me again today. Stay strong, stay smart, look for the truth and be just.